It's Sunday, March 20th. My name's Juan Brown. You're watching the Blanco Lirio channel. And yesterday, Saturday, about 5 p.m., Los Angeles County Sheriff's helicopter AR-5, Air Rescue 5, suffered a hard landing and rollover while attempting to land in this small turnout in the San Gabriel Mountains along Highway 36 while responding to a single vehicle rollover accident. AR-5 is one of 3 heavy lift helicopters that the Los Angeles County Sheriffs operate, and it's a Puma EC-225, now owned by Airbus, heavy lift helicopter with the 2 Turbomeca turboshaft engines, 2,300 horsepower apiece, and has a rotor diameter of 53 feet. Los Angeles is surrounded by some very high terrain and attracts numerous people every year into the mountains where, as in the words of the sheriff, they do stupid things and frequently need rescuing. And this Los Angeles County Sheriff's helicopters, all 3 of them, perform about 600 of these airlifts every year of extracting people out of the mountains. This accident occurred in a landing zone very near the San Gabriel Dam here. As we dive down onto the road, this is the small landing zone they were attempting to land in. There's a bit of a berm around the edge of this landing zone, and then there's this big oak tree located right there. That's where the helicopter ended up resting, right along here. Note also the very steep terrain associated with this landing zone that these pilots are very familiar with operating in. Let's take a look at this video on Twitter from PupScan LA. As they descend over the high terrain down on the accident site. And it looks to me like the main rotor has made contact with the big oak tree, forcing the rollover. As we swing around, we can see the tail boom is broken. Again, very lucky, and the sheriff made note of this, very lucky there was no post-crash fire and there was no continuing rolling of the aircraft down the cliff here. As we spin around here, you helicopter guys, take a good look at this, see what you think. It looks to me like all 5 of the tail rotor blades are present and accounted for, so I think that blade is still there once we get spun around here. In other words, it's hard to tell. I don't think this was a tail strike so much as it was the main rotor striking the oak tree, thus causing the rollover. But everybody got out with some injuries. As we spin down here, I think you can see that number 5 rotor blade, tail rotor blade. It's also likely, too, that once the main rotor contacted the oak tree, the entire helicopter spun around quite a bit. The victim of the rollover accident was just taken by ground transportation on into the hospital and is reported, well, his condition is unknown. So as we zoom down and take a closer look at this landing zone from the high terrain, similar to what that news helicopter was looking at, and we look at the distance or the size of this landing zone, you got about 66 feet or so to work with to get that 53-foot rotor diameter into, plus the very high terrain located right here. So a very, very tight spot with who knows what sort of winds affecting you coming off the San Gabriel Dam. There was some overcast, or there were some clouds in the area, but they were up high, just obscuring the very tops of the mountains. Not a factor for the landing zone down in here as far as the clouds go. But as far as the winds go, We don't know that. And when you're coming into these kind of landing zones, you really don't know exactly what the winds are in the landing zone. You know the general winds in the area, but you really don't know until you come down and check it out. There's a very good interview on the local news channel of the Los Angeles County Sheriff operating these helicopters up in the San Gabriel Mountains and demonstrating the tight sort of landing spots that they typically operate out of. Very close to the high terrain, just within feet of the tips of those rotors. So these helicopters do operate with 2 pilots and a crew chief. The crew chief helps with the landing and making the call as just to how close the main rotors are, or the tail rotor is, to obstacles. So risk-reward analysis on behalf of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department as they analyze this accident and the rollover. I'll be surprised if there's not some video footage of this somewhere, perhaps from within the helicopter itself. They'll be able to get to the bottom of this pretty quick as to what happened here to AR5 in the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Very lucky that nobody was killed in this accident, and hopefully the injuries were fairly minor. Thanks so much for your support of this channel. I'm just 800 subscribers short of 300,000 total subscribers here on YouTube. It's been sitting here for months like this. I'd really like to get over the hump. And a special shout out to everybody over on Patreon that makes this content possible. See you here.